So this is Paula from the Good Therapy Practice, and this is the latest in our series talking to entrepreneurs and business owners about the importance of their own mental health. And with me today is Heather Black. So welcome, Heather.
Hi, thank you for having me, Paula.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for coming along. So Heather is CEO of Supermums. She's also a Salesforce consultant, trainer, Salesforce career coach. So basically, if you're considering a career within Salesforce, or actually are in working within Salesforce, Heather is your go-to person to contact. So that said, take me through what a typical day for you would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I launched Supermums because I wanted to raise awareness of what Salesforce career opportunities could offer mums, but now it's parents and everybody else looking for more flexible, well-paid opportunities. And so I made it my mission to raise awareness. So actually, my day-to-day is a lot about doing podcasts like this, marketing, brand, raising awareness to our target audience. And I just really love sharing our mission to people and inspiring people. And I get lovely feedback from listeners who've thank you so much for sharing that with me. I never knew these opportunities existed. And it's very rewarding. And, we help people change their life forever, really. So I love the brand awareness and the marketing activities in many ways, because, it just helps people, say, change their lives. But I also like to keep my foot in the door as a business owner, because I think, we can spend a lot of time working on the business and then not in. And people say, oh, try not to work in the business where you're running a business. But the reality is I do really like delivering training and coaching still to make me feel like I'm having a direct impact on people. So I still deliver some training, which, doesn't take me a massive amount of time, doesn't take up loads amount of time, but it just ticks that box for me still, that I'm having a direct impact with people. I'm meeting people, I'm upskilling them. And so it's been very important to me to still have a foot in both camps of working on the business and in the business, for sure.
Yeah. So a mixture of big picture and small detail, really.
Yeah, just being able to sort of still feel like you're delivering and adding value to people every day. And, I think it's important as a business owner, we're talking about mental health today, is to make sure that you feel that you're still getting that kick. And I certainly know from having run businesses now since 2006, I have been in roles as a business owner where I haven't done any direct delivery, and I lost a part of myself, and I lost the enjoyment, actually, to some degree. So being able to balance both things is really important, but not to the detriment of the business.
Yeah, because obviously I've known you for more than 10 years. I think it was
all that time,
when you were starting striding out that you first got to know you. And then people did, mental health for business owners just wasn't the thing, was it? Nobody talked about it.
No, exactly. It's kind of very much crack on and keep running with the business. And I think I've learned the hard way on some of those things. It's not all about business still.
So what have been your biggest challenges mental health wise?
I think I think there's two things, really. Is one, when I started a business, it was, you leave a salary and a job and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to suddenly earn this money every day. Nobody's giving me money. And that kind of rewired my brain, actually, in a way that I was always in survival mode and always thinking I've got to make the next buck. And it was focused on business. And that was a big priority. Work came first beyond me, my personal time. Before I quit my job, I'd be making sure I was exercising 4 times a week. Then when I started the business, all of that time going to the gym and everything seemed to slip by the wayside, because I was like, I've got to make money. I've got to make sure I'm earning enough. I've got to be able to pay my rent and salaries and things like that. And I didn't have kids at that point when I first launched my first business, which is back in 2006. But I've learned the hard way over the years of continuing to drive forward with business first led me to burnout. And having kids on top of that as well, made me sort of realize, actually, I can't put business first. I've got to sort of see the kids. And when I had my 2 children, the first was born in 2012, I'd the first business I'd handed over to somebody else to manage at that point, and I'd started out on my own as a freelance again, and then sort of had subsequently built other businesses since then. But I made it a priority to say, look, if I'm not delivering and performing in my working hours, something is wrong with my business model. I'm not getting it quite right. And that burnout, the lack of energy from not exercising, from not feeling happy, led me to that point where, I just wasn't performing in business or in life either. And I really hit a wall. And this was about probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And it seems ironic because at this point I'd moved into a Salesforce career and I was busy advocating it as a flexible, well-paid career opportunity. What I realized, it was my mindset that was wrong. My mindset wasn't in a performance orientated mode. It was focused just on the business, not really about how do I optimize my energy, what gives me energy, what helps me, perform better at work. And I realized that there was other things that I needed to do to get that balance right, and ultimately spending time in other areas of my life like fitness, looking after my health, spending time with the kids, actually helped me perform better at work in the hours that I did spend on work, than just sort of really focusing on work and not spending time on other things.
Yeah. So you said there were two major sort of challenges to your mental health. Is that two of them rolled into one, or was that one of them?
I think, well, one was I used to exercise a lot, as I say before, and then I was paying for personal trainers to make me go out and run.
Yeah.
And then I was paying for a gym that I never went to. And so my swimmers now cost me a lot of money. I'm still recouping that price. But when I hit the wall and sort of reached that point of burnout, really, where I was like, something has to change. I'm not happy. Like, I'm meant to be fulfilling this, flexible, well-paid dream here. And there was other things that in my life as well, relationships that I needed to change, but I'll come on to that in a moment. It was fitness was one thing that always made me feel good and strong and confident, because when your body feels good and your strength, you sit here and you've got this whole different demeanor of confidence. And so I invested in leadership coaching, a leadership coaching program at this point. It just happened. It was for women who were corporate women who were facing burnout. So they were either business women or senior leaders in roles. And so that felt like the perfect program for me. But what that did is rewire my brain to think, well, actually, what does make me tick? What does make me feel happy? What does energize me? And that rewired my brain to motivate myself to exercise 4 times a week again, and to find the time for that. And that happens now. So I can do that without anybody telling me. I've got a Peloton at home. I go swimming. I'll go for runs when it's not raining like now. And that is transformational for me, because for many years I couldn't, fathom time or energy to do it. But actually that gives me so much more energy day to day. The other second thing was around relationships, and that is in life and at work. And the other thing I found incredibly draining is being around negative people and people not aligned to my values and what I'm about. And that just didn't help with anything either. That brings you down. If you're working in a team, or say you've got family or friends around you who aren't aligned and aren't sort of supportive of you, that is a complete energy zapper, and it's hard to juggle everything. And that meant changing things drastically on relationships as well. There was changes in my team, there was changes in where I, at home. And I've also joined some mastermind groups of fellow female entrepreneurs, 3 different groups actually. One around property, because I was looking to invest more in property. One around running similar like-minded business to what mine is. So a group of women who are all running sort of a number of businesses or have entrepreneurial ideas, which is fantastic. And then the third one is a business performance mastermind, but it's also for women who've experienced narcissism and trauma as well, because those negative relationships, did have elements of narcissism within it, and really kind of, hampered my nervous system and my ability to regulate my emotional sort of state. So I've sort of also been benefiting from that and healing from that burnout in those different ways, and reigniting my, nervous system, restabilizing it, and just being really mindful about, who I sort of have around me, and being around like-minded people who are on a similar journey to you, have similar values, has really sort of boosted my mental health back again.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you say about the people around you. I think when you run a business, it's not a bad thing to have someone who plays devil advocate now and again, but if you're just getting criticism after criticism,
there's a difference between devil's advocate and
Yeah.
criticism, because a devil's advocate is like somebody who's brainstorming with you and helping you see from different angles, whereas people who are negative are, really are bringing you down and sort of saying, you shouldn't be doing that, get a proper job, or just aren't supportive at all. So it's just being mindful, like if anybody's listening who have got those, people in your team or whatever, then just be really mindful that actually you need to either, solve that relationship issue or move away from it and change it in many ways.
Yeah, toxic environments have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it sounds as though you're very adept at noticing when you're feeling burnt out and doing something about it. You're talking about the exercise, joining communities, the different groups that you've sort of reached out to and become part of, and changing around your relationships.
Yeah, and you reach a tipping point though, right? You see it for a bit and you're like, oh, I keep getting better and keep getting better. For me, my tipping point of making some drastic changes was I couldn't hang out with my kids and feel fully present with them. And my emotions were, I wasn't able to go out and just have fun and laugh and feel like I could laugh. And I was like, this has to stop. My kids and me hanging out with them is the most important thing. And being there for them and being present is so important. And if I can't do that, why am I, what I'm not living out what I want to do. And I think when you're a business owner, it can be very hard it's not like you could quit your job tomorrow and go get another job, right? It depends on your responsibilities as a business owner. If you don't have staff, maybe it's easier. It depends on your client obligations, etc. But I think, just to be mindful of your tipping point and your values, like getting back in tune with your values. And that's what I did with my leadership coach at the time, was do a values exercise, and that resonated and made me really think, well, actually, am I living out the life that I want to have? And at that point, you only buy or change something when there's a big enough pain, right?
Yeah, the pain points. Yeah. Talking about pain, it's something a lot of people do. Do you self-sabotage yourself?
So self-sabotage. So yes, I've gone through this whole cycle of, understanding myself better, understanding, what things are important. And actually, given that I talk about flexible, well-paid careers, and advocate for that with other parents and mums, I came up with actually the model, the ambitious women mindset. And there's 6 sort of different elements to this ambitious women mindset. And there's 3 areas that I will self-sabotage on still, and I have to be really mindful of. And I now teach this to our trainees that go through our program, because I say, look, I can teach you Salesforce as a technology, and then, I'm effectively promising them they're going to have a flexible, well-paid career, right? But the reality is you can go into any job and not manage your mindset, which means that, in any job, it's only flexible as long as you hold your boundaries and make it flexible. And you own it and you enjoy it, and that's a mindset thing. So I've made it my mission, because my background is coaching. That's traditionally what my last business was a coaching business, career and business coaching. I've made it my mission at Supermums to not only teach them Salesforce technical skills, but also the coaching skills to manage themselves. And the 3 areas that I will quite often still self-sabotage, but I'm being much more regulated and I'm aware of it, right? So if I'm feeling in any of these things, I'll be like, Heather, what do you need to do? So the first is goals, not setting goals for the day or the week, right? So I get to the end, and you say on a team meeting, every week we have a team meeting, like, what have we done this week? I'm like, oh, And I know if I can't sort of be clear on what I've accomplished that week, it's because I wasn't focused on what I was meant to be doing in the first place. I didn't have my goals, I didn't tick them off. So I can self-sabotage around goals with being much more accountable as a team for that as well, which makes us as a business owner more accountable because everybody's doing it. So that's one area. The second is boundaries, like not saying no to stuff, not scheduling things in my diary. One of the things that I learned from my leadership coach was like, don't ever have a to-do list, no more. Your to-do list should be in your calendar. And so, if I have a to-do list and I'll write things down, but the reality is if I don't create a schedule in my diary for it, it won't get done. And then it'll still be on the to-do list next week.
Yeah.
So you can brainstorm everything down on a to-do list, but then you need to put it in your diary and then you can manage things around it. And I also make sure that I have my gym and my exercise in my diary, because if I don't have it, then it doesn't happen. So I can self-sabotage if I don't put stuff in my diary and manage boundaries around that. And my third is my energy. If I don't make time to exercise, sometimes I've got now I'm divorced, and so I have the kids half the time, 50% of the time, which has made it easier to exercise when they're not around. But also now I've got the Peloton that I can exercise when they're here. So I've just also improvised in ways that how do I exercise? The kids are here, they're not here. If I've got them for a week, what can I do? And I really notice my energy drops and my motivation to do things drops if I don't exercise now. Like it's quite prevalent. So again, just being, if I'm in a lazy mode or I haven't planned it in, I notice that hits my energy, and again that affects different areas. So they're the ways that I will self-sabotage still.
And exercise is about as equally efficient as antidepressants, helping with mental health and depression and so on. So
I've never taken tablets. Like, it's not to say that they're not right. My mother took them for a bit and it helped her bounce back, and different people need different things. But during burnout and downtime, obviously it was back in my mind going, well, I could have taken antidepressants at this point. It's definitely an option that works for some people. For me, I wanted to do it a natural way to kind of reestablish myself really, and work through it in these areas, which it has worked for me.
Yeah. And again, exercise has so many other benefits as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you picked bits and pieces from different programs and your own coaching background and so on. Are you much of a reader? Have you got any sort of books on the go, or?
I like to collect books.
Yeah.
I love to collect books. A lot of them I've collected around health and personal development, actually. And I did set for this month in particular a new challenge because we set quarterly goals as a team, and quite a few of us actually is about reading books. Quite a few of us have that on our agenda. So this week I've started reading a chapter a day, and just to help wind down at night. But interestingly enough, with the burnout, because my brain is still recovering from burnout to some degree, concentrating, it's hard, because it can be very easy to switch onto other things. So I've not been very good at being strict with myself to read. But over the last 2 weeks, it's been the new thing. I have been doing it, and I actually really enjoy reading the books and getting a boost from them. And it's funny, like the things I'll read, I'll be like, oh, that's what I was just talking about or thinking about yesterday. So it's obviously meant to be. So I do feel like I'm getting back on that bandwagon.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think there's a lot to be got from books, and as you say, actually reading itself is very restful. And it's probably a good sign that emotional arousal is coming down, because that means that when you can start concentrating and focusing again, that's a good sign that it is.
Exactly. And sometimes I do it in the morning. I tend to try and read in the morning rather than at night, because at night I can make excuses that I'm too tired. And my brain will then start thinking about what I've read, so then it will reenact the brain. So actually I've started reading in the morning. Before I get up.
So you've mentioned your team a few times, and you've mentioned the fact that you're in masterminds and sort of little entrepreneur communities. So, have you found running a business to be isolating?
So at the moment, I'm struggling with just working at home 100% of the time, even though I've got a team. because it's about, you know, on Zoom all the time. And I'm very mindful that I don't spend all day on Zoom, because I'm an introvert more so. So I find it very draining just being on meetings all day. So I block out now half days where I'm creating content or doing direct outreach or whatever it is. And so I have those down times. But we used to have an office in London post-pandemic, so I would be in London like 2 or 3 days a week, which sometimes I'd be like, oh God, you know, that's quite a lot. But actually I really enjoyed getting out, seeing people, going to meetings. I got my energy from that. And I, you know, now I'm just stuck in the house like all week, every week. So I'm mindful to try and get one outing a week, even if it's to go and work in a coffee shop. This week I am lucky that I'm going into London, but that, you know, definitely doesn't happen as often now. And next week I'll be away as well. So running up to Christmas, it's going to be a busy full week, so I won't feel isolated. So I think it's just being very mindful about making sure that you're getting out of the house. And you know, so we have a team, we have team meetings, we have one-on-one teams, so it's not like we're alone. But what has been very important as a team is that we get together in London every quarter now, and stay overnight, have a team building activity, and spend proper time together. And that's been proper team building, because also, you know, it's not as easy to have general chit chat and build relationships in virtual meetings. So it's allowed me as a business owner to just feel fully relaxed. You know, we do chat about work obviously, but we have fun and just, you know, let our hair down, and, you know, people get to meet me as a normal person rather than the boss, and equally everybody else as well. And, you know, that's been really important, to have that, you know, to those. And I come back fully energized from those meetings, and then I get quite down again, because I'm like, oh, I won't see them for another while. So yeah, it can be really isolating, and the masterminds have helped with that too, because the masterminds I go on have retreats, and that was one of the reasons why I joined them. Like, we meet up every quarter as well and get together. I didn't want virtual masterminds. Like, one of them is virtual, you know, a couple of them are virtual, but there are meetups every quarter as part of them. And sort of getting together and meeting is what I wanted to do, because before I joined these masterminds, I didn't really know or have any way of connecting with other business owners who were like me in business. And we're at a similar stage, because, you know, I have 23 staff plus, I kind of lose count, but you know, a lot of people I was meeting were right at the very beginning, or startups, and, you know, we're sort of different playing field really. So yeah, I've put in a lot of measures. I spend money on those things. It's not cheap, but you know, I just can't let them go, because they're so important to help, you know, catalyze my ideas, my thoughts, my energy as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to reach out, have that two-way communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how about locally? Do you do much sort of stuff locally, or is it mainly the masterminds and your team?
Yeah, mainly masterminds and a team. Locally, you know, is more social really, like mum friends that we meet up with, and they're all, you know, different. You know, they don't necessarily run businesses in the same way, you know, or they're not working or whatever. So I don't really talk shop to anybody locally.
That can be good,
that's
good.
It? Yeah, exactly. You know, it's nice that I can just hang out with the kids and sort of be mum friends with them. And you know, we don't really talk about work, we talk about everything else. So
I suppose you've touched upon some things that you've noticed that are bad for your mental health, but anything else that you can pinpoint that you know, might make you think, okay, I need to stop doing that, or move away from that, or...
Yeah, definitely. Well, I talked about the 6 elements of the ambitious women mindset. So the 3 that I talked about where I still self-sabotage, the other 3 areas that I talk a lot to our Supermums about is, one is confidence. Like, we can speak very negatively to ourselves all the time, and to just be our own, you know, our own worst enemy really. And I've always, people have always said to me, you know, speak to yourself as if you would befriend. You'd never say that to somebody, you know, unless you're a really horrible person. So be kind to yourself. So I think what can be bad for us is, you know, that confidence piece. If anybody's speaking to you badly, or you're speaking to yourself badly, just bring that in check, because that's not good for your own mental health, you know, to kind of say, oh, you know, just be kind to yourself. If you didn't do something the right way, learn from it and go, right, okay, well, how do I do it better next time? And that ties in with the other second bit, is that relationships. So just reiterating what I said about before, is making sure that you sort of remove negative people from your life. And I've made a lot of effort to build new relationships with people that align with me, align with my values, and to just be strict with that, because otherwise they'll be bad for your mental health and will bring you down again, and it doesn't make for a happy environment for anybody, really. And I think the third thing, bad for your mental health, it's interesting to put this in context, I suppose, but my third element of the six is impact. And quite often I can be out there talking about what we do at Supermums, and I haven't been, for example, I don't do the case study recordings or anything else, and so quite often I don't always hear what people say about our program, and I forget to celebrate the impact, right, and to sort of listen in about what difference we're making. And the other week, I helped transcribe some of the case studies to get them on our website. And I was like really blown away by what people were saying, and it was really nice and lovely, because I shy away from doing them myself. Like, I don't want to do them myself necessarily, because people might be like, oh, they're talking to you and whatever. Whereas they talk with one of I've got a global community manager, she does them. And I've always shied away from potentially probably listening to them as what I should, because I don't know why. And so I think it's really important to listen and lean into actually, the impact that you want to have, and to be aware of the positive things that you and your company are doing, and own it. The thing is owning that, and feeling the value and feeling proud. And if we don't do that, then we're not sort of nurturing our mental health, really, because we're just kind of feeling like, oh, we've just got to promote this, we get to get more trainees in. Again, when you're running a business, it can be all about the day-to-day processes, and some of the things, the problems you're dealing with, or the challenges you're kind of always trying to build. And I think celebrating the impact of what you're doing and the value that you're bringing to your customers is a really important part of building the business, but sometimes the bit that you can forget about. And so not doing that enough has been bad, probably, for my mental health, in that sense of not being focused on that side, because I let other people do that stuff and get it up on the website, while I'm sort of focusing on the next podcast. And it was really great just to sit there and listen to those case studies, and to sort of enjoy hearing all the positive things that people have said.
No, that's a really good point, isn't it? Celebrating ourselves more often, noticing the impact, how we're making a difference in other people's lives.
Exactly, and not shy away from that.
Brilliant. That's been really, really interesting. Thank you, Heather. So just let us know where people can find you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you know anybody that is looking to relaunch their career and want to find out about the Salesforce career as an opportunity, because it does offer like 6 different career routes and opportunities, we have a page on our website at supermums.org, which helps you look at what a Salesforce career opportunity is, and we have a free 5-day challenge. So if you're looking to do something new, or somebody that's looking for a new opportunity, whether they've been out of work for a while, coming back from maternity leave, in a job that isn't offering them flexibility they need, then we're here to help anybody relaunch their career in this sector.
Brilliant. Thank you, Heather.